Not all users look like bad guys. Some look like the man who texts you good morning every day. The one who listens to your stories, laughs at your jokes, tells you how different you are. He remembers the small things. He meets your friends. He might even hold your face in his hands and tell you you're the first woman he's felt this safe with in a long time. And yet, you can't shake the feeling that something's off. You're not more secure. You're more anxious. You're not growing closer. You're walking on eggshells. You keep asking yourself questions you never had to ask before. Why is he so hot and cold? Why does it feel so amazing one day and so hollow the next? Why are you shrinking to hold on to something that keeps slipping through your fingers? He's not saying anything wrong, but somehow you're still breaking. If you've ever been in a relationship where your heart felt like it was under emotional anesthesia, you weren't crazy. You were probably with a man who wasn't whole. A man carrying wounds he's never looked at. A man who, without meaning to, uses women not because he's evil, but because he's emotionally broken. And here's how you know. Have you ever been with a guy who became colder the moment you became warmer? The connection felt electric at first, deep even. You laughed, shared stories, stayed up late talking about things you never thought you'd say out loud. He made it feel safe, and then, right when your guard came down, he pulled away. Not dramatically, subtly, like a tide going out when you weren't looking. He texted a little less. His eyes didn't linger as long, his replies got shorter, his presence got thinner. This is what emotional avoidance looks like in action. It's not loud, it's quiet, gentle even, but it leaves a woman spinning. What did I do wrong? Should I be less available? Should I give him space? Should I fight for him? No. You shouldn't fight for someone who retreats when met with love. His pullback isn't about you, it's about his nervous system. His trauma. Somewhere along the line, closeness started to feel unsafe. Not because you're unsafe, but because his attachment wounds get triggered the closer someone comes. You don't feel unstable because you're needy. You feel unstable because every time you get close, he disappears. And that's not love. That's emotional whiplash. Have you ever felt like he was addicted to your energy, but allergic to your emotions? He's the guy who lights up around you, who flirts hard, who mirrors you, who makes you feel like the most magnetic person in the room. He thrives on the high of connection, the spark, the chase, the fun. But the moment you get real, the moment you need support, express disappointment, or cry in front of him, he checks out. He doesn't say it outright, but his body language shifts, his tone dulls, he gets quiet or frustrated. Maybe he tells you you're too emotional, overthinking, or bringing the vibe down. This is emotional immaturity, dressed in charm. He likes the fantasy version of you, the one who laughs and glows and keeps things light. But your pain, your complexity, your humanness, that's too heavy for him. The problem isn't that you're too much, it's that he's underdeveloped. He never learned how to sit with uncomfortable feelings, his or yours. Maybe no one ever sat with his. So now when you ask for real connection, he checks out, gets defensive, or makes you feel like a burden. You're not a burden, you're just finally being real. But emotional children don't do well with real. Have you ever been with a man who says he wants commitment, but acts like everything's temporary? He tells you he's ready, that he's tired of the games, that he wants something real, and maybe part of him does. But his behavior tells a different story. He plans dates, but cancels last minute. He talks about the future, but keeps you at arm's length. He says you're special, but he flirts with other women. He says he loves your depth, but only when it doesn't challenge him. This man might even believe his own words. That's the dangerous part. He's not always lying. He's just fragmented. There's a version of him that wants intimacy, but the bigger part of him, the wounded, scared, unhealed part, still lives in survival mode, still runs from consistency, still sabotages closeness. So you're left in limbo. Always almost loved, almost chosen, almost secure. This pattern isn't just painful, it's destabilizing. It makes you doubt yourself. You start trying harder, shrinking smaller, doing more, to try and make the almost feel real. But here's the truth. A man who is truly ready for a relationship will act ready. Not just talk ready. And if you're feeling confused most of the time, it's not chemistry, it's inconsistency. You're not crazy. His behavior just never made sense, because it wasn't supposed to. Have you ever had a man who made you feel like the exception but treated you like an option? He tells you you're different, that no one's ever made him feel this way. He might even open up about his past, share his pain, tell you how hard it is for him to trust, and you believe him. Not because you're naive, but because it feels real. The walls come down, and for a moment, it's like you see the real him. And then a few days later, he goes cold. Not completely, just enough to make you wonder. He forgets to reply. He suddenly gets busy. He's online but not texting you. And when you finally bring it up, he says something like, "I've just had a lot going on," or "You're overthinking." This is the emotional breadcrumb cycle. He feeds you just enough vulnerability to keep you hooked, but never enough consistency to feel secure. It's not that he doesn't care about you, it's that he doesn't have the capacity to care for you. There's a difference. Women in these relationships start to second-guess their instincts. They start confusing intensity with intimacy. They remember the moments he was open and raw and think, that has to mean something, right? It does, but it doesn't mean what you think. It means he's wounded. Not necessarily manipulative, but still dangerous to your peace. Have you ever dated a man who made you feel like the relationship was always almost your fault? Something happens. He disappears for 2 days after an argument. Or he snaps at you for something small. Or he makes a flirtatious comment about another woman right in front of you. And when you express that it hurt, he turns it around. You're too sensitive. You always twist my words. You need to work on your trust issues. Suddenly you're apologizing for having feelings, for reacting, for bringing it up at all. This is emotional gaslighting. Not always the intentional kind, but the deeply damaging kind nonetheless. And here's what's key. Many emotionally broken men don't know they're doing it. To them, protecting their ego feels like survival. Taking responsibility feels like danger. Being wrong feels like collapse. So they deflect, defend, disappear, or shut down. And over time, you start walking on eggshells. Not because you're dramatic or unstable, but because your emotional truth has been slowly eroded. The relationship becomes less about connection and more about managing his reactions. You're no longer expressing your needs, you're editing them. You're no longer sharing your truth, you're silencing it. That's not love, that's emotional erosion. And it's not your job to shrink just so he doesn't explode. Have you ever felt like you were giving love, but slowly disappearing? You show up for him. You hold space. You believe in him when he's doubting himself. You see his potential. And even when his behavior confuses or hurts you, you tell yourself, but he's a good man. He's just been through a lot. I just need to be patient. So you stay. You stay because you think love is about loyalty, about fighting for someone, about not giving up when it gets hard. But here's what no one tells you about being with an emotionally broken man. The more you try to love him back to health, the more you bleed out emotionally. Because these relationships run on imbalance, on hope, on waiting. And it becomes easy to forget yourself in the process. You stop asking, is this relationship healthy for me? And start asking, how can I be better for him? You might even find yourself researching attachment styles, trauma responses, or communication techniques late at night, just trying to make sense of the chaos. And that's admirable, but also exhausting. Because love is not supposed to be a full-time rescue mission. You're not crazy for seeing the good in him. There is good in him. But loving his potential should never come at the cost of abandoning yourself. Have you ever felt like you were the one doing all the emotional work, while he just existed? He doesn't initiate deep conversations, but you do. He doesn't check in when you're quiet, but you always do. He doesn't grow, reflect, or take accountability, but you keep showing up, hoping he will. It starts to feel like you're carrying both your heart and his. Like you're holding the entire emotional weight of the relationship on your back while he gets to coast on your effort. You're the one reading the books, sending the texts, making space for his moods, understanding his past, navigating your own anxiety, and still trying to show up with love. He might say thank you. He might even seem grateful, but he never meets you there. Because deep down, he's still looking for someone to do the emotional heavy lifting for him, not with him. This is what happens when a man confuses emotional availability with emotional dependence. You become his emotional container, his support system. his safe place, and there's a quiet flattery in that. Until you realize that no one is holding you. You keep giving him your softness, your steadiness, your soul, but you're slowly disappearing in the process. And you wonder, how did I become so tired in something that was supposed to be love? Here's how. You were being used, not for your body, not even for your time, but for your emotional labor. And you didn't deserve that. Not every man who uses you does it on purpose. Some men truly believe they care. Some men are just repeating what was modeled for them. Some are still fighting demons they never asked for. And some have no idea how much damage they leave behind until the woman they hurt finally walks away. But intention doesn't erase impact. Whether he meant to or not, the result is the same. You feel confused, emotionally raw, unsteady in your own skin. You question your worth. You replay every moment wondering what you could have done differently. You blame yourself for staying too long, for hoping too hard, for loving too deep. Let me say this clearly. Staying in that cycle didn't make you weak. It made you human. Because love, real or not, is powerful. And we're wired to want to heal what we love. But that's not your job. You're not here to rescue broken men. You're not here to bleed for someone else's unhealed past. You're not here to prove you're lovable by enduring pain. You're here to protect your peace, to honor your intuition, to stop making excuses for the people who confuse you. And to remember that if love requires you to abandon yourself, it's not love. You felt something was off, and you were right. Now it's time to stop asking what's wrong with you, and start seeing what's real about him. You're not crazy, you're not needy, and you're not here to be someone's emotional rehab. You're here to be met. Not fixed, not drained, not used, met. And that starts by choosing you. Every single time.